Nakamute ka po, ma'am.
Muted po yung mic.
Okay na?
Yes po.
Okay, sorry.
Yes po.
Welcome, students, for another session in our English class. Vida, kindly note and check the attendance of your classmates, okay? So before we start our lesson, let us first know our learning objectives for this lecture. Can someone please read? Yes, Jade.
Volunteer visa yan. Number 1, determine correctly cohesive devices in sample text. Number 2, write short informative speech using proper cohesive devices. And third, use cohesive devices appropriately while composing an informative speech.
All right, thank you very much. These words that you can see on the screen, and also to, first, then, in addition, but, nevertheless, meanwhile, in fact, absolutely, definitely. Where do you often see these words? You may put your answer on the chat box. Yes, correct, Miss Jade. Essays, sentences, correct. Where do these words best be used? Essays and
Ma'am,
reports,
essays
correct.
and report.
Thank you, Hazel. Correct, Claire. AJ, thank you. What do you think, what types of words are these?
Connectors po, ma'am.
Correct, Val. Thank you. Correct, John Ray. What is the purpose of these words? Yes, Val?
To have a good transition po, ma'am, when you basta yun na to, ma'am.
Thank you, Val. And last question, are these words important? If yes, why? If no, why?
Ma'am Claire po.
Yes, Claire?
Ma'am Krista, I think this is important because it makes our thought easy to understand.
Correct. Thank you very much, Claire. That's correct. Now, cohesive devices, sometimes called linking words, linkers, connectors, discourse markers, or transitional words. Cohesive devices are words or phrases that show the relationship between paragraphs or sections of a text or speech. These are also words like, for example, in conclusion, however, and more. Moreover. Now, cohesive devices are words or phrases used to connect ideas between the different parts of text. And cohesive devices affect comprehension because they help readers integrate information between sentences in a text. The pronoun, synonym, or transition word is tied to a previous word, phrase, or clause, okay? All right, as you can see from the table, these are some examples of cohesive devices. On the first column, if you want to show similarity, you can use these cohesive devices, and also two similarly, equally, identically. And in the second column, if you want to introduce an item in a series, you can use first, in the first place, in the second place, then, in addition, finally, lastly. If you need to compare, you can use cohesive devices such as but, nevertheless, meanwhile, however, by comparison, in contrast. For emphasizing, you can use cohesive devices such as in fact, absolutely, without any doubt, certainly, obviously, and definitely. Cohesive devices tell the reader what we are doing in a sentence and help to guide them through our writing. They signal to the reader the relationships are between what the relationships are between the different clauses, sentences, and paragraphs. Now let's take a look at the examples on the screen. The public transport in the city is unreliable and it's cheap. The public transport in the city is unreliable, but it's cheap. Now, there are two cohesive devices in the sentences above, in the screen, I mean, and but. Both give the reader different signals and change the meaning of the sentence. In the first sentence, it tells the reader that it's cheap, is simply being added to the previous information. However, the second sentence tells the reader that they are giving a contrasting opinion to the first part of the sentence by using the word but. In other words, the second sentence is saying it's unreliable, which is bad. But the good thing about it is it's cheap. I don't mind using it. Simply using the word but conveys that whole message without needing to literally say it. And this makes our message more succinct and our writing easier to read. All right? So let us have an activity. Fill in the blank spaces with suitable linking words from the lists given at the end of each passage. Now, I'll give you a minute or two. You can put your answers on the chat box. Okay, so can we have a volunteer to read the whole paragraph and with their answers? Yes, Claire.
Try lang po, ma'am. You can
Sige.
correct me if I'm. Many tribal women are unable to feed their children since they have no land to till. I'll in fact, hundreds of women are facing similar situations. Moreover, the land records do not have the names of wives, the husbands, sell the land and use a large part of the money to buy liquor as they are not judicious in spending money.
Excellent. Thank you, Claire. All your answers are correct. Now let's try the other one. If you're ready, you can raise your hand. Yes, Hannah.
The climate, I'll just try, ma'am. I don't know if
Yes po.
it's all correct. The climate of Gopal on Sea is pleasant in summer. How I wait is pleasant in summer. Therefore, tourists in large numbers throng this small town in summer for holiday. However, suitable accommodation is a problem here, since the town is small and most of the people are economically backward. but that does not discourage tourists.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Miss Hannah. All your answers are correct. Okay, let us again have an activity. Read each sentence below, identify the correct linking word or phrase. You can put your answers on the chat box, okay? So for number one, many companies want to know customers' opinions of their product. Blank, the companies conduct surveys. Is answer letter A, consequently, or B, for instance? Correct, Mariah. It's consequently. Many companies want to know customers' opinions of their product. Consequently, the companies conduct surveys. All right. Next. When McDonald's restaurant started, many people said it would fail. Blank, everyone was shocked when it achieved great popularity. Is it letter A, in addition, or letter B, however? Correct, Mariah, AJ, and Claire. Thank you. When McDonald's restaurant started, many people said it would fail. However, everyone was shocked when it achieved great popularity. The clothing store Zara has expanded into several countries, blank Brazil, Indonesia, and Zaire. Is it letter A, such as, or letter B, while? Correct, Sheena, Mariah, Jade, Hannah, Nicole.
A po.
There. Thank you. That's correct. The clothing store Zara has expanded into several countries such as Brazil, Indonesia, and Zaire. Many companies offer their employees professional development opportunities. Blank, the companies give the employees money to take classes so the employees can learn more about their current jobs. Is it letter A, although, or letter B, in other words? Thank you, Mariah. That's correct. In other words, many companies offer their employees professional development opportunities. In other words, the companies give the employees money to take classes so the employees can learn more about their current jobs. And the last one, Etihad Airlines has many flights each day to Europe. Blank, it also has many daily flights to Asia and North America. Is it A, furthermore, or B, as a result? Correct. The answer is letter A, furthermore. Etihad Airlines has many flights each day to Europe. Furthermore, it also has many day flights to Asia and North America. Thank you very much. Now, this will be our classwork. Okay? I'll give you some time to think about some sentences. I will be giving you a topic. All right? We will create a paragraph that will show the usage of at least one to show similarity that introduces something. One for comparison and one for emphasis. All right? So our topic will be about VP Lenny's press conference. You can think about sentences, all right? So I will invite Ray to be the one to start the paragraph.
Do I need to recite it like, or should I just type it on the chat box?
You may type it po on the chat box.
Okay po.
All right? Many people will come to VP Lenny's press conference. Without any doubt, there will be a lot of people attending it. That's a great sentence. Now, who would like to add a sentence to this using cohesive devices? Mariah?
I-type ko na lang din po, ma'am.
Yes po. All right, but we need a bigger hall so that at least 600 people can be seated. All right. Who wants to add more sentence here? Claire? All right, Claire. Also, we need to invite some guest speakers, correct? And who would like to end the paragraph? Yes, Mika?
Wait lang po, ma'am. I will type it po.
Sige po. In addition, people would also love to see dance numbers for icebreakers. All right, that's a good one. So the whole paragraph will be, many people will come to VP Lenny's press conference. Without any doubt, there will be a lot of people attending it. But we need a bigger hall so that at least 600 people can be seated. Also, we need to invite some guest speakers. In addition, people would also love to see dance numbers for icebreakers. That's a good one. Excellent work, class. All right. So
Teacher
for your
Krista,
homework, oh,
Teacher Krista, I have a question though.
yes
So
po.
definitely, in conclusion or to sum up, is this
Mhm.
sort of cohesive devices or is it classified into other transitional devices? Kasi earlier you said that Claire would be ending the sentence, however, Claire's did so, but it wasn't, a conclusion in form because also was form of an addition. Thus, if you're saying that you would be concluding or you will be summarizing the proper transitional devices, would be therefore, like Hannah Francisco said in the chat box, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is in conclusion, arc in conclusions to sum up or finally something like that, the conclusion, markers, part of cohesive devices or not?
It can be a part of cohesive devices. As I have said earlier, if you want to introduce an item, since I was asking you to create a paragraph a while ago with with one for I asked you to create a paragraph which will show the usage of at least one to show similarity, one to introduce something, and one for comparison, and one for emphasis. So that's what I was looking for a while ago to complete all the things that we were looking for to make use of it. For your question po, I can say that it's a part of cohesive devices po kasi if you want to use, we can end that paragraph by using a cohesive device wherein you can introduce an item, if you want to introduce an item in a series. For example, we can end the paragraph with the use of cohesive device na finally or lastly, right? It's just that the given sentence by Mika, which I asked her to end the paragraph, is she used the cohesive device in addition.
Okay.
Alright?
So there's a discussion in the chat box na they come up to the realization that therefore would be a better fit to that sentence because it kind of, connects and at the same time end a paragraph. Would you agree to that?
I agree po.
Yes.
We
Okay.
can
So
change naman that.
yes. Thank you. Thank you for a very good response.
All right. Thank you, Ray, for the challenging question. Medyo nakagulat ha. So for your homework, I will be asking you to write an informative speech with 500 to 800 words about any of the following. You may choose government's response to academic crisis, government's response to health crisis, or government's response to economic crisis. I will be posting the rubrics on the stream. So for now, this will be the end of our discussion. Thank you very much, class. I hope you have learned something from the lesson. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
po,
you
Teacher
po.
Krista.
Thank you, Teacher Krista.
Thank you, teacher.
All right.
Very
Thank you,
fresh,
Teacher
teacher.
Krista. Let's now listen to Miss Santa Rosa's comments.
Hello,
Really appreciate it.
congratulations, Miss Krista, for finishing the lesson. Very nice. So, my comment first, I would like to emphasize how you follow the step wherein you ask questions about your topic, your initial questions about your topic, wherein you follow this step in which you build up the student's knowledge of rule initiation. So next, when you discuss your topic after the question you provided at the very beginning.
Mika, sorry.
Oh,
Turn on your camera, please.
okay, may ganda ako ready, sir. Ang bangs ko kaya, sir. So, yan. So, next, when you discuss your topic na po, after that, you give example in which it helps students to more to understand clearly your discussion. So, next again, I noticed that you really followed the 5 step because after that you gave an activity. You gave 2 activities to assess your students learning of your learning kung meron ba silang natutunan sa in your lesson. So after that, I would like also to commend you on responding on all of the answers of your class and also recognizing the people who raise their hands. And lastly, when you ask us to create sentence when you give topic, I think that follows wherein you expand the student knowledge. It expands student knowledge because it's more difficult activity than the first one you gave. So that is very good, Ate Krista. Congratulations. Thank you. And also, the way you speak pala, I really like it. You feel so confident. It sounds so confident. So parang teacher na talaga. That's all.
Yes, no, I was actually
Salamat.
that was something noticeable also when I rejoined the meeting earlier. Although it was towards the end, the discussion was towards the end, but I was able to witness how Krista was able to keep her calm and poised, di ba? When she was speaking, very clear talaga, there's clarity. And you can barely notice that she got the nerves no while discussing the lesson. Wala. Parang very composed lang siya, very calm, very clear yung articulation ng words. 'Di ba you will be if you I do not know kung nakikinig ka kung kayo student, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't listen to her kasi malinaw siya magsalita, 'di ba? Tapos I also like no when John Ray challenged Krista. challenge Krista's mastery of the subject matter. No, those are like valid questions. No, what if I use this word in place of another? Is that still acceptable? And also, when John Ray raised the question about the conclusion given by one of the students in the chat box, which is actually not, di ba, a conclusion. Sabi nga niya, hindi talaga yung conclusion. No, if you read it, it's not given a conclusion, a clear-cut conclusion of the paragraph, which is, by the way, a suggestion that that was proposed yesterday during the consultation, to try to consider having a collaborative writing activity for the whole class. And this is, I think, Krista's attempt of doing so in her micro teaching. No, sabi ko, di ba? You see how it came out? It's possible, even if you do it face to face. Because I have done this myself before during my first years of teaching. No, I asked the class to compose a piece of writing as a whole class. No, and there are pros and cons to it, but overall it was like a very interactive and engaging activity for the whole class. Kaya that's why I was able to give that as a suggestion yesterday during the consultation. So those are the things that stood out to me as while observing Krista's micro teaching earlier. I still would have to watch the recording to check if indeed, according to Mika's comments earlier, Krista was able to follow the 5-step procedure through and through. Okay, but based on what I saw, no, towards the end of the micro teaching, that's very notable, no? Yung ano mo, yung disposition mo when you were teaching, very calm ka, and I hope that you sustain that even when you are already facing real students, no, in your classroom, whether it's virtual or face to face. No, kasi yung clarity ng speech very important, 'di ba? And that gives you the parang branding mo sa teacher as someone who is approachable, 'di ba? Students can talk to. 'Di ba yung mga teachers kasi tayo language teachers na parang I won't talk to you if you don't speak in English. Parang mga ganun yung mga datingan ng mga teachers. But it's the total opposite, no? With what we saw with Krista this morning. Okay, I'm trying to check some comments here if I missed anything. Okay, doon na lang kasi, ang naabutan ko na lang kasi yung may sentences ka, and then they have to choose A or B from the given words. Alright. And also here, dito sa homework, yung naka-flash mo ngayon, it was sa advice yesterday, no, during the consultation, that you have to be clearer in terms of the parameters or the instructions, which I think you're able to do because you have given the students some options here, no? As to the subject of their informative speech, pwedeng academic crisis, health crisis, economic crisis, and you leave it to the students to decide which specific aspect of this crisis are they going to write about in their respective speeches. Okay? So, congratulations, Krista. I know that, sabi mo kahapon, sa pagpupuyatan na lang, sir. Kasi, di ba, you're also one of those na yung learning competency na in-identify dun sa lesson plan na present was not on grammar. It was reading, if I'm not mistaken. Reading comprehension. So sabi ko, find a way to highlight a grammar topic together with that reading comprehension competency. Okay? Granted that your classmates are satisfied with how your micro-teaching turned out, I'd like to take it as something positive that overall also the micro-teaching went so well. So with that, congratulations, Krista. And of course, to your peer assessor, Mika, for your
Thank you po.
insightful comments. Okay? We now come to the fourth of the facilitators,